Well, here we are, the legislative briefing call for OSBC on clean energy and other issues. We have Representative Stephanie Howse on the line. And I really wanted to thank all of you for participating in the call. We really appreciate your support and involvement for OSBC. Thank you. Representative Howse, I'll just leave it to you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully everyone is having a blessed day. I'm not sure what part of Ohio you may be in, but at least the sun is shining here in Cleveland, so it's a good day. I first want to thank Maida for just extending the invitation to myself, and I believe there are maybe representatives to other legislators that may or have at least their legislative aide may be on the phone call. I'm not sure, but just really wanted to take a moment to give a couple of updates. I guess in particular, the group was interested specifically in House Bill 349. And so wanted to take a moment to talk about that briefly, and then we can open up for some Q&A. And I think there are a couple of other just quick things that I'll put out just as far as resolutions and things of that nature. And, you know, just I'm here to listen to you all, take things, and hopefully be able to communicate and share some things back with my colleagues down in Columbus. As well, many of you all, I think, are familiar with Substitute House Bill 349. This legislation was really, I believe, in response to, on the federal level, the Clean Power Plan. And so specifically what House Bill 349 would do is a couple of things, and I'll just go over them very quickly. The first thing, it prohibits the Director of Environmental Protection from submitting any state plan regarding the emission of greenhouse gases to our federal EPA without approval from the General Assembly. Next, it will say that the plan, if approved by the General Assembly, will only remain in effect to the extent that the federal emission guidelines are in effect. So as long as the Clean Power Plan will be in effect, then that's how long our plan will be in effect. It will require the director to submit a timely, basically different progress reports as it relates to the federal government. It also requires the director to basically develop, evaluate, and provide our state plan for consideration to the General Assembly. And then one of the things that this also does, it requires the director, before submitting a proposed plan, they actually need to come up with an additional four state plans, like different options that the state would consider in regard to how we would reduce emissions. And then they have another part where it will require the director to analyze these different factors, specifically the plan's impact on energy cost and reliability, market-based considerations in achieving the performance standards, and any negative impacts to the competitiveness of the manufacturing here in Ohio. And I'll stop right there just for the moment. This piece of legislation in particular, it was introduced by Representative Ryan Smith and Representative Timothy Ginter. It was introduced back in September 30th, and it was referred to the Energy and Natural Resources Committee back in October 7th. As of yet, we have not had any hearings on this specific piece of legislation, and I'm not sure what, just to be very open and honest, I don't have any clear indication of when it may come before our committee to begin to go through the legislative process. So I know that is a bit of a mouthful, so at this moment I'll take a break. I will take a break and just, I guess, get some comments back. And before I take any questions, I really will. For me, I'm a simple type of lady, and one of the things, and which I think is really important to understand as of right now in the legislature, we do have a majority of opinions that are not in agreement with the Clean Power Plan, and so in the Energy and Natural Resources Committee, the committee that I sit on, the committee that this piece of legislation will come in front of, we just passed 11-2 out of committee House Concurrent Resolution 29, which basically is just shooting down the Clean Power Plan, just saying that we're not in agreement with it and would not like to follow it. So we are here currently right now. There is a feel of not being in support of the Clean Power Plan. I was one of the two legislators who believe in the Clean Power Plan or think it could be something in the right direction for us to not only help our environment to be better, but also for businesses to thrive and make money. And I think that we are just in the very beginning stages of that. And when we had our renewable energy portfolio, there was progress and there was a lot of information that showed that we were going in the right direction, and it was not necessarily at a cost to businesses. There's an opportunity for innovation and to grow our economy. And so it will be very important for us to really start to think through some things. It may be hard to do transitions, but I think with all the wonderful talent and resources that we have at our disposal, there's a way for this to be a win-win situation, not necessarily winners and losers. It's just a matter of if the will is there and if people will be willing to have an open mind to go some places we've never been before. So that's my brief commentary. And so now I really am going to stop and just listen to hear the feedback for those individuals who are on the call, to hear, your point of view from a business owner's point of view.
Representative, this is Mark Shanahan. I wonder if you could help us understand the sort of what are the various reasons that go into the opposition to the Clean Power Plan. I know some of it is just straight ideological and it's an anti-mandate thinking. Some of it is very partisan. But given that 11-2 vote, a number of Democrats joined in voting against it. So
so there were two. It was two. So we were split. We were like 50-50 because there's only 4 Democrats on the committee. There were 4 Democrats that were actually present. Specifically, you talked about the ideology side of there are individuals who don't have a belief that there is not necessarily human activity that's causing some of the challenges that we're having in our environment. That is one said. And then there's another group of not believing that the federal government is overreaching its authority and really trying to set standards here in Ohio for how we should operate. And in this case, in regards to regulating our greenhouse gas emissions. And the other thing that concerns many legislators who are opposed to the Clean Power Plan, they talk about specifically the job loss that would happen in their respective communities if this would go into effect. So, yes, that's, from our dialogue and conversation, and that is where individuals will fall on the line. And then myself, and there was Representative David Leland he's a representative that represents Columbus. We are just on the, in the minority that believe this is an opportunity, because as the federal government has set a goal, it really is up to the individual states as to how we can get there. And we were on a very strong path to actually get there and reduce our emissions, and at the same time we were creating jobs. And so for someone like myself, it's kind of difficult to understand why we're having such a pushback. But then again, if you don't believe that there are some facts and science around, what is happening in our environment. And even beyond that, there are things happening that are impacting providers to actually provide service. The hours that are lost because of, utilities, being down. That's a cost too. So I hope that helps you a bit.
Representative Howse, this is Chuck Watts. I live in Wilmington, down in southwest Ohio, where the home of the banana split. Really appreciate your being with us today. I work for Edward Jones, financial advisor here in Wilmington, have been for the last 25 years, and I'm the president of a nonprofit called the Empathy Surplus Project, and we're members of the UN Global Compact, which is a sustainable business initiative that seeks to redefine ethical business around 10 principles of human rights, labor, environment, and anti-corruption. There are 23 members of the UN Global Compact. You're in the Cleveland area. Cleveland Clinic is one of them. Case Western Reserve has two of its I'm going to say it's upper-level postgraduate colleges a part of the Global Compact, as well as the city of Cleveland is a member of the Global Compact. Would it be helpful to the cause of clean energy and a caring economy if there were more conversations taking place back at home around the human right to a clean environment, around the anti-corruption? Would that kind of language taking place in Cleveland, taking place in Wilmington, taking place all over the state around business wanting a clean environment, would that be helpful to you?
Well, I think yes, but and I know it's yes and. I guess that's my answer. Yes and. So yes, we definitely need to have the conversation around just our responsibility of taking care of one another and being good stewards. But I'm very realistic in thinking of from a business owner's point of view. They are in business to make money, and so I guess it's very timely because the conversations are happening. This morning I was at a legislative briefing at Magnet. We had Dr. Bob Simon, who is the principal advisor to the Director for Energy, Transportation, and Resources there at the White House. And as a part of that conversation, and I'm getting to my end point of making the case of businesses making money, I know many times, especially for small businesses, you hear about mandates, but it's having an understanding of how to get there. And I think as a part of that conversation of being good stewards, we have to get to a point where realistically we can show businesses how to get there, not necessarily just leave them out there and tell them to go on the website, but specifically put some the people that know how to do this, actually send them out throughout our communities and help businesses come up with a priority list, so without breaking the bank, to how they can get there to transition into just business practices that will be more energy efficient, but at the same time they can make money. So it's a yes and conversation, and I am, definitely all ears and ideas of how we make that happen. I'm waiting, they said there is some information specifically here in Ohio of how we could do that. And so my office, is following up with, individuals on the federal level to see, how we can start having more of that information readily available, and then trying to work of how do we communicate that not only to legislators but specifically to business owners, so that they can have more of a belief and be willing to jump on board.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is Chuck Lind with in Columbus, Ohio, and I would just say, first of all, that any work that you and David Leland are attempting to do in terms of calling people that would be willing to testify at any hearings that are forthcoming, I'm sure that myself and others on the Ohio Sustainable Business Council board would be willing to testify and present information that would be hopefully objective and nonpartisan, that would talk about the jobs issue and the other impacts of these issues for businesses. One other comment is that I'm personally a member of a group that's called the Citizens Climate Lobby. They're primarily lobbying U.S. Congress, and I live in Delaware, Ohio, and my wife is the liaison with this group with Congressman Teaberry, and there's an effort afoot to basically inform particularly Republican Congress people, but this what I'm talking about here could apply equally well to the similar folks in the state legislature that have this anti EPA and anti-climate change and whatever that position. So one of the approaches of this group, a primary approach, is that they offer a market-based solution to taxing carbon at the source. I won't go into details on that, and I can send information about this, but it's basically a Republican approach to letting the market determine the value of carbon, but with the tax in place to cover the cost of the health impacts and the other impacts, pollution impacts that are not being paid for now when we use the fossil fuels. They also have a program for they call it a carbon fee and dividend. The dividend would go back to U.S. households, and the reason for that is that we know that the other side, the Republican side of the aisle, does not like to see the government picking the winners and losers. So this would be a pure mechanism to redistribute the money that's incoming from the fee directly to households, much as Alaska has been doing that for years with oil revenues in that state. So it's not a partisan thing. It could be considered as an alternative to the EPA. There are people who argue for this carbon fee and dividend approach, that it actually would be a quicker route to get into moving toward fossil fuels, and would give an expectation of ground floor for the oil and gas industry to know what's up. And right now, the oil is so cheap that the theory is that, actually we've had on this Citizens Climate Lobby, we've had Shell Oil, Exxon. These people are quite ready for a fee they can deal with that easily given the low cost. So they're happy to do it right now. But it's something that I would suggest as a model for how the state legislatures might conceive of this issue. Not to object to the EPA solution, I would not do that, but just to let them know that there are different strategies that can address the issue.
Well, thank you for that. I would definitely be interested in at least getting that information to see, how it could play a role in continuing this conversation. So I will make sure some way I get back connected with you, and definitely will, when we have continuing hearings around different legislation, like House Bill 349, will be definitely make sure I will reach out to the council for individuals who may be able to lend a voice objectively as we are making the decisions moving forward.
Thank you.
Representative Howse, this is Chuck Watts again. Am I thinking correctly that the Clean Power Plan affects not only air quality but water quality as well?
That is a good question. Okay, I guess this is a clarifying question. Could you clarify what do you mean impacts water as well?
Well, if you're dealing with the EPA, I mean the EPA deals with not just air but water, and so I was just wondering, if the Clean Power Plan, when is it just about air, or is it about water, or is it about both?
So specifically, the Clean Power Plan is specifically around air and our emissions. That is, it's a product of water, but this plan is specifically around air.
Just around air. Okay. That's what I was trying to get my head around. Thank you.
Okay.
So Chuck, this is Mark Shanahan. There's an indirect connection to water.
Right.
Obviously, because when you control air emissions, you control what gets deposited into the water around the state.
Okay.
So, for example, air emission controls through the Clean Air Act that make utility companies control mercury emissions.
Okay. That's a great clarification, Mark.
Yeah.
So with that clarification, let me ask a question, Representative Howse. You've got, in addition to being a part of the OSBC, I'm a longtime Rotarian. You live in the Cleveland area, right?
I do. That's correct.
And in that area, you've got 16 Rotary clubs, and our work with the UN Global Compact also directly relates to Rotarians. I don't know if you ever get out to speak to Rotary clubs, but one of the areas of focus for Rotary International is clean air and water.
Okay.
And as well as growing local economies. So I think if you do get out and talk to your constituents, you might have your associate, make sure that you're reaching out to Rotarians, because their policy on politics requires that clubs are not involved in politics, but encourages those clubs to have people like you talking to Rotarians about what's needed, and encouraging Rotarians when they leave their club in their sphere of influence to help clean up the water and the air, because it impacts the human rights and human dignity. So I just share that with you, that might, as you're out there beating the bushes for this, that might be a group that you could engage.
Okay, that I appreciate it and definitely am open to that. It's been a while since I've been connected to the Rotary. Actually, it was probably about 4 years ago. I actually was through the Rotary Club, I got an opportunity to travel to India. So now would definitely be a great time to re-engage. So thank you for that. And I will, see what I can and see what clubs may be open to having a conversation.
What zip code are you in?
I'm in zip code 44109.
All right. I'm just looking up. Go ahead. Anybody else?
Okay.
Representative Howse, my name is Akshay Singh. I'm actually from the district neighboring you. I am in Representative Boyd's district, but I do work for a statewide organization. We're not businesses, but Ohio Interfaith Power and Light. We are a faith organization, and a lot of places of worship are actually commercial properties. So we do at least share a little bit there. And one thing that we do specialize in is working with places of worship and utilities to help cut the energy bills as well as people's carbon footprint through energy efficiency. And we just use real basic stuff where we get energy audits and start weatherizing these places of worship where they start to see a real tangible savings both on their bill as well as knowing that they are cutting their carbon footprint. And so we just want to thank you for your leadership. We would love to show you kind of the results in some of these places. We're statewide. We got a lot of folks in Columbus as well, and just really we believe that we're a really good example of the fact that folks can save money. And lots of businesses from like CVS to I'm thinking of folks who are using efficient lighting. A lot of businesses can really improve their bottom line just through energy efficiency and a lot of these kind of basic measures. I know in Cleveland, the Council of Small Enterprise had really, really impressive programs along these lines. We're a little hamstrung in the Cleveland area because First Energy's canceled all of our efficiency programs, but we would love to work with you.
Oh, really? Did they do that?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, they did. So, we would just love to help provide maybe that side. We certainly know, we know through the area, folks at GE Lighting, folks that really are strong on efficiency and show that the business interests and the carbon, cutting carbon emissions interests are really aligned and aren't going to hurt people. And I know you understand that, but if we can help at all make that case with you, we would love to do that and figure out how we can help out in any way. So again, thank you.
Oh, no, thank you. And I definitely will. Again, I know my office, we're diligently writing down everybody's name, so you all will be hearing from me, because I'm definitely going to take everybody up on their offer because, we just have a lot of work to do. And I think, many times we are not operating based on things that are true, real experiences, maybe just from things that we hear. So as much as I can be able to capture real stories that have positive results, I have a belief in win-win, and I really do think that we can have win-win here in Ohio. And as much as I can equip myself with information, or better yet, connect people, to other people who have this information, I think the better off we will, and the better we will be able to make a case of why we can be embracing of just doing good by the environment, but more importantly, doing good by people and businesses. So,
Thank you,
Representative Howse. What is your email address?
My email address is Stephanie STEPHANIE .Howse HOWSE at ohiohouse.gov. That's OHIOHOUSE.gov. house.gov. And then by then, I'll also leave my number, my cell number, if anybody would like to have it. It's 216-407-0876.
0876?
Yes, that's correct.
And that's your cell number?
Yes, that is.
Representative Howse, thank you so much for your attention to this matter and your leadership on this and other issues. This is Jeff Greenfield, president of Third Sun Solar. We've been doing solar projects for 16 years throughout Ohio and in several other states. Plenty of activity in your backyard up there in the North Coast. I'm also a member of two national organizations. I'm on the board of directors of NABCEP, which is a credentialing organization among solar, and I'm also on the board of directors of Amicus Cooperative, kind of a group of 36 of the leading installation companies nationwide. And so it's really frustrating to see through those organizations and those roles the amazing amount of economic activity going on in other states where they don't necessarily have more sun than we have, but they do have less, I would say, they don't even have necessarily more favorable politics. They have less unfavorable politics. So it's hard to be in the minority and to be dealing with the realities of the legislature. So I appreciate the kind of challenges that you have. I'd like to ask, how can we support you, knowing that the Republicans control and will continue to control, likely, the legislature, and they're dealing with campaign financing and supporters that are basically trying to keep the status quo that serves a certain interest in Ohio and several people and shareholders. But it's preventing us from unlocking the incredible economic potential and job creation potential from hands-on trades and actual installers on the rooftops of houses in Cleveland, through administrative and engineering and office work. So we're doing a small bit of what we could be doing, and the argument that the Clean Power Plan would cause economic harm and create some job losses is the same argument that the buggy whip manufacturers were making when
absolutely
the automobile came. So
we want to keep our horses.
Exactly. So I think that logic should prevail, and in fact, in terms of the kind of conservative mindset, we're talking about choice and free market versus protecting an incumbent, monopoly. So how can we help you get that message out there and help make these folks do the right thing?
So I think that the one way, and there are several ways, but I think the biggest thing is, as I talked about, having, like, places in Cleveland, I think, are probably maybe better connected, and they can share, because we have a variety of different sectors where people can have job opportunities. But having an understanding that, a large part of Ohio is more rural, and they may not have the diversity when it comes to employment opportunities, business opportunities. If there was a really good way to identify in many of our areas that have very limited opportunities, where there may be towns where there are coal power plants. Like, where are those business opportunities right there in that community where people can readily see and connect? Like, okay, we might need to get a different skill set, but the job here and the opportunity to make money is right here in my backyard, and I don't have to go or move my family an hour or 2 hours away. I don't know where that is, but I really believe that can be a part of this conversation that can change people's minds and hearts, and to believe that I won't be left out. I won't be kicked to the curb. as this new economy is happening. And this might be going on, but I feel like that is missing when I hear, my colleagues talk. It's just about what's going to be lost, not what can be gained. And if we don't have the message to help people see that there is something for their community to gain, regardless of where you live in Ohio, then we're going to continue to have this battle versus, what we've traditionally been done and typical players versus the opportunity to open up some more, some more business opportunities and work opportunities for all Ohio. I don't know.
Sure, that's a great approach, and we've got some. I don't have a lot of data, but we've got some great stories. One of my employees would have been a coal miner. His grandfather was a coal miner. His father was a coal miner, and now he's a solar guy. So, it's happening here and there.
Cool.
We've got some anecdotes about that.
Right, and so those are the things that I think would really help. Because again, we all want to know because change is scary. And many people who have been accustomed to a certain way of lifestyle, that's hard. You may understand, will I actually be able to change? You know what I'm saying? Will I be able to grasp these skills that will be a part of this new economy? And so as much as we can convey to people that, yes, it can happen and can happen right here where you are, the better we will set ourselves up from the people that will put the pressure on us as legislators, because that's who we are accountable to doing what is right so that we can make a seamless transition, into this new economy. Because, the more that we are shying away from it, we are, going to waste time. And at the end, it's going to cost us more money because we are fighting something that is happening.
Right. It's a matter of getting on board or watching the train go by.
Right.
Representative Howse, I want to piggyback on Jeff's question. I'm a member of the Ohio Democratic Party Executive Committee, and is there anything that you wish that body was doing that would be helpful to you?
Potentially, but I'll have to think a little bit more about that because in the spirit of a nonpartisan, open conversation, I think there's something that both parties.
Let me rephrase the question. My Empathy Surplus project focuses on both parties. We currently have a resolution out called the Caring Economy Ethical Business Resolution that is encouraging both parties to cooperate around certain things. So if you could, if there was something that you needed from I guess the cheerleaders of these parties.
Right. Mm-hmm. That would be good. That's what I was thinking about, maybe like a resolution. Right. That's what I was saying. Could it be a resolution? I would have to think a little bit more about that because I actually haven't really thought about that. But maybe we can have a conversation of what that could look like, and not just for paper's sakes or saying we did something, but really think about something that can lead people to action. Because I'm but I'm definitely open to that, and I think there could be a place on the political side to, like I said, have more voices around this, and I think on both sides there are people that are ready and willing. We just don't have a vehicle to get us going in that direction on a statewide party, on the statewide party side of things.
I'll send you a copy of this resolution.
Okay, thank you.
This is Chuck Lynn again. I wanted to piggyback on the great stories that Jeff Greenfield has. There's a group in Columbus of engineers called Go Sustainable Energy. There are 12, 15 engineers whose job it is to work with businesses to help them cut their utility bills by basically energy efficiency and various renewable sources of energy. So they have John Seryak, S-E-R-Y-A-K, is the leader of this group, and I'm sure that they have stories about businesses who have been benefited from the approach they use, which is to all their fees are simply taken out of the savings that they offer to the business. So they have great ways to communicate the effectiveness of this approach. And I also wanted to give a heads up on the Interfaith Power and Light group that was mentioned earlier. There's a group in Central Ohio, and I met with them as part of a coalition earlier this week. And just as a heads up, there's a plan for the Central Ohio Interfaith Power and Light, along with these other groups, to do let's say, I don't want to say it's a rally or a coming together of different groups at the State House on Wednesday. I think they've already made the reservation. Wednesday at the State House on April 20, which is part of the Earth Week. So in that spirit, there's going to be an effort, but the details have not been worked out, to basically argue that climate change is real, it's happening, it's largely caused by humans, and that we have a moral duty to act. So that's another approach, and there will be, again, no details yet, but there will be speakers and probably folks, particularly from the IPL group, who will be lobbying folks. And I know the Sierra Club and Citizens Climate Lobby, other groups will be there as part of that demonstration or that rally. So I'm just putting that out there. Mark your calendar, because something will happen then, and hopefully a substantial one. And if we can work with you, or somehow maybe perhaps you or David Leland or both of you could be present at that, to make a short talk, 3-5 minutes about these issues, that would be appreciated. I know we'll also be calling for the ending the freeze to deal with that. The renewable portfolio standards. And then last thing is a nice letter to the Dispatch, the Columbus Dispatch, just a few days ago by Marianne Gable. She is, I can make this available to the group rather than go into details, but she addresses specifically the jobs issue, and particularly in the coal industry. And I know it's a issue that gets raised all the time, but Ohio still does have about 3,000 jobs in coal, but there will, of course, be many more jobs available through the solar and wind industry. But that's a good letter, which has good facts in it that can be used for, the good cause.
Right. I would love if you can share that, with the group through Meta or however. That would really be good. I would love to look at that.
Yeah, Representative, this is Mark Shanahan again. I neglected to tell you earlier that I live in Columbus, and unfortunately I live in Representative Leland's district, so I'm glad at least my rep voted the right way on that joint resolution. But I do a lot of consulting, and one of the groups I work with is the Blue-Green Alliance, which is a coalition of national environmental organizations and some major trade unions. And I just wanted to tell you that I think you've really targeted a critical point when you talk about the needs of communities that may have coal-fired generation facilities, particularly since most of those are in rural areas, and that even though we do know at the macro level in the economy, green jobs will replace fossil fuel jobs. They won't necessarily replace them in the same communities. And that's where you get a lot of the dug-in opposition. And it won't happen on its own. There'll have to be a very conscious effort to make sure that that economic development planning and implementation happens. The federal level, the Obama administration has put out sort of a parallel plan called Power Plus, which is trying to make money available for transition planning, both for the communities and the workers in those communities where particularly coal jobs are disappearing. And even though it's all going to be blamed on environmental reasons, it's probably much more the market, and it's a changing marketplace. But I think that the state needs to address it. Whenever the state comes back with its plan for how it'll meet the clean power rules, I'd really like to see them have something in there that talks about a just transition, that really takes seriously the needs of those workers in their communities as they face the change. So I think that's a critical point, and I know at least a couple of that's driving a couple of the Democrats that you work with on that committee to vote the way they did, is that home impact that nobody talks very much about. So I think you've really hit a critical point there.
Right, and I think that's one of the things, and depending on, most of us may not have a full understanding of all the details of the plan, and, the easier we can help people understand what we can do, and beyond the understanding, put the needed resources and legislation in place to kind of facilitate the transition. We just will set ourselves up for success. And like I said, we have to get out of this mindset of what we're going to lose, but really focus and pinpoint on the opportunities for growth and what we can gain by this. It's really critical, and it's hard work. Like, this isn't easy. It's real easy to just do what you know how to do. I mean, it's going to take people rolling up their sleeves, doing reading and talking and finding out other people who are a part of this, and how we can adapt it for Ohio and Ohioans in different geographical areas. That's going to take some work, but we can get there.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else? Maida, are you on the phone call?
I am here. Yes.
Okay.
I would
say, I really want to thank everyone, for this conversation. At first, I didn't know what to expect, but I am definitely pleasantly surprised and thrilled and rejuvenated to be a full participant in this conversation and the dialogue, as we're really, looking at ways that Ohio can be, a state, known for innovation in this new economy when it comes to energy efficiency, protecting the environment, but more importantly, protecting, the health and well-being of people, and, making people's pockets a little bit fatter. So whether you're saving a dime or earning a dime, I think, this is definitely something that can get us in that way. So I really look forward to continuing to work and connect with the members here of the council, and I'm just really looking forward to being a resource to you as best that I can, and everyone has my contact information, so be more, anytime you want to shoot me something I think could be of interest, please feel free to do so, and always know that my office and my line is always open.
Well, thank you, Representative Howse. We really appreciate it, and really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today. And definitely we will follow up with some of these resources that we've spoken about today. And definitely we'll be in touch. Feel free to contact me anytime, when you have a need for folks to testify. We're right here for you.
All right. That's good to know.
The feeling is mutual. We really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Representative.
All right. Thank you. And everyone have a blessed and wonderful weekend.
You too.
Thank you. Likewise.